I'm Blake Hargreaves. Welcome to Future Stops. You're hearing a performance by Austrian artist Hermann Nitsch. Nitsch is known internationally for his provocative, taboo-breaking artworks which harness the imagery of religion and the body, exaggerating them into, some say, mystical, others say confrontational realms. Nitsch incorporates multiple art forms into the Orgies and Mysteries Theater, a recurring performance work that overloads the senses with evocative elements of conflict and tragedy, myth and religion. It seems inevitable that this artist's work would come to incorporate the pipe organ and manifest a unique and unmistakable approach to the instrument. Leopoldo Siano is a music philosopher, sound actionist, and author who has intimate knowledge of the work of Hermann Nitsch.
Although I teach musicology at University of Cologne, but I don't like anymore this word, musicology. It sounds too academic for me. And besides that, since some years, I am developing my activities in another direction, quite different from the traditional musicology. Instead of musicology, I used to speak about phonosophy. That is knowledge through the sound. And Hermann Nitsch, for me, is an authentic phonosopher, if I may use this word, because for him, the work with sound as part of his theater, the theater of orgies and mysteries, the sound is a tool for knowledge, a philosophical tool, but a tool that involves in a very intensive way all senses. At the beginning, I had a very ambiguous relationship with his work, because he's dealing with blood, with entrails of animals, and so on. And I was a little bit shocked at the beginning, looking at his performances and so on. I was even disgusted, but at the same time, I had a secret fascination, and I needed about 5-6 years in order to understand why I had this, why this art fascinated me so much. Because the things that disgust you, that at the beginning you don't like, at the same time they can have a secret fascination. And that has to do with the deep layers of our psyche as human beings. And indeed, Hermann Nitsch with this art is consciously working with these deep archaic layers of human consciousness.
Ludwig Lusser is the organist at St. Polten's Cathedral in Austria. He is an accomplished performer and improviser and has been offered a special dispensation by Hermann Nitsch to interpret his music.
Only since 2005, I discovered his organ music. And of course, for me as organist, it was great. I was fascinated. Nitsch understood for me perfectly the basic of organ, the nucleus of organ. Therefore, the overtones. Nitsch begins his improvisations mostly with one tone, and then he uses a second tone, an octave, and so on. This is an important basic, maybe for us organists. He makes mostly great crescendo between 20 minutes and decrescendo, and one crescendo and decrescendo. And I think this is also a very interesting basic of the organ music belonging on the length of the sound. It means an idea of eternity.
For him, the organ is very important, also because he has a mystical tendencies, and many musicians that has mystical tendencies like organ. I can mention Anton Bruckner, that is one of the favorite composer of Nitsch, among other things, and also Olivier Messiaen, that is also an important composer for Nitsch, because Messiaen, he was a fantastic improviser at organ, and he had this synesthetical talent. He saw colors during he was listening to sounds, and I think that organ, the pipe organ, is also a sort of cosmogonical symbol, because it's a huge instrument, and the player every time is creating the world again, so to say. I don't know if you know this illustration from the Baroque time in a book by Athanasius Kircher, that was a priest, a German priest living, a German monk, a Jesuit. And he wrote also treatises about music, and there you can find a very beautiful illustration, a very beautiful picture with the so-called world organ. This is an organ symbolizing the 6 days of creation, and the organist is actually God. With his playing, is gradually creating all levels of creation, let's say so that way.
In 1977, a tragic event in the life of Hermann Nitsch causes him to confront what, for many, is the largest of questions related to God. The music created in response to this life-changing event sets the conditions in place for the organ to take on a role of greater importance in Nitsch's work.
In 1977, his wife, Beate, died in a car accident. She was 38 years old, quite young, and Nitsch was the same age at that time. And Nitsch, of course, was destroyed because, he loved very much his wife, and his wife was also a person that believed very much in him and in his art. And Nitsch had experienced very dark period of his life, and Nitsch step by step started to work again. And from a musical point of view, the Requiem that he performed in Bologna in summer 77 is a very important point, a turning point for his music, because before that moment, Nitsch was a little bit frustrated because he wanted to have music in his theater, but he was not able to write music, as I said, and he just used noise and people screaming, screaming choirs, so to say, and the noise orchestras. He did a sort of excessive primitive music, primitive in a positive sense, in a primitivistic sense. He tried to have an orgiastic music with these means. But then in Bologna, in this church, with this very good acoustic, he began to use organ in a performance and to use drones, that is long sustained sounds. And that was the beginning of a new phase of his music that then he developed in a very organic way.
And ultimately, the organ was integrated into the Orgies Mysteries Theater, which is something that's performed every year. Is that right?
Now, that was the desire of Nitsch. Nitsch wanted to perform this Sechstagespiel, this theatrical piece that lasts 6 days and 6 nights every summer. But, it is quite expensive to organize something like that. And he succeeded to perform this big event only once in 1998. And now there is the project to repeat it next summer, 2022. But it is a little bit uncertain because of pandemics, etc. But before the 90s, he already performed his theater of orgies and mysteries in a smaller version. For example, 3 days or 2 days or 1 day, or 6 hours performances, 8 hours performances, and so on. And the organ is a very important part of this action of the 6 days, because according to 6 days of the creation in the Bible, he tried to retell the story of the world using archetypes in a Jungian sense, in 6 days and 6 nights. With simultaneous actions in different parts of his castle, but also in the landscape, because the Austrian landscape is also integrated, and also there are also very meditative, contemplative moments where you have to look at the sky in the night to contemplate the stars, and there are many orchestras and ensemble and actors acting all the time for 6 days and 6 times. And for 6 days and 6 times, you are listening in the background a fifth played by the organ. This interval, it is, so to say, the ground, the primogenial ground of this theater piece, this fifth, this void fifth, and all other sounds are integrated in this primeval space of this very archaic interval, the organ.
Both Leopoldo Siano and Ludwig Lusser have worked with Hermann Nitsch in support of his pipe organ music over the years, and the experience continues to inform their practices.
It was a very great experience. For me as musician, if I could meet Johann Sebastian Bach or Wolfgang Mozart, very great. It was in, I think it was in 2019. My first idea was only that Hermann Nitsch plays the organ and nothing else. But during our discussions with Zanella and Nitsch, the project grew up and became bigger and bigger. And at the end, Nitsch also proposed that at the third part, in the third part, when I play or we both together, should also became a choir, a mixed choir with chords, major accords of the 5 vocals. Before the practice, nobody knew anything what we should do. It was 100% improvisation situation. It was very, very interesting. And then he came, and all people, all singers was fascinated of his personality. And then it was very easy. He gave the instructions. Looking back, I have to say, it wouldn't have occurred to me to do it how Nitsch do it.
I had the honor to assist him at organ. And yeah, this experience during the rehearsals and the concert at the Basilica di Santa Maria dei Servi in May 2019 was for me extremely formative. I could see that Nitsch has a very instinctive approach to sound and is working with sound as if sound will be blood or another colored substance. Nitsch improvises his solo concerts at organ. He has some structures in his mind at the beginning. For example, before the concert, before the rehearsals, we knew that he wanted to have 4 parts, that is 4 movements, almost like in a classical sonata or in a classical symphony. 4 movements. He had a basic structure. I would say that for him, it doesn't care if he's working with colors or with blood or with objects or with collage or with sound. For him, it's the same thing. In that sense, his art is a Gesamtkunstwerk, a total work of art, because he's, nowadays one would say a multimedia artist, because he's working at the same time in many directions with different media. And I can say some anecdotes about this performance. During the rehearsals, Nitsch said us many times, please do not act following music principles. And that is paradoxical. Me and Joseph, the other assistant, Smutny, we had the function to actionate the registers, and Nitsch gave us a sign when he wanted to have a new layers, and we just had the freedom to play a register at random. But I am a musician. I had an education as a musician. Therefore, I tried to follow a sort of musical sense, a musical process, but he refused that, because for him the chance, the aleatoric element has to have an important role. And another things that he said he said the most important thing tonight is not to be afraid of mistakes. Even if we make mistakes, it is up to us to accept them and love them. That is a very Zen Buddhistic in some way, a little bit like John Cage. And also during his organ performance, that's the same like in his organ music or music for orchestra music or music for string quartets for his theater. These are the basic principles: addition and subtraction of layers, and the juxtaposition of dense sound blocks. And besides that, sudden interruptions. Interruption, then we have this suddenly this silence that is a deafening silence. And he constantly decides what to do in the moment, right now. And somehow everything he does is right. He's really an artist in the spirit of the 60s, like also a little bit like the Fluxus artists or Fluxus. These people that developed the performance art, action music, these events, and so on. And they developed this art of the now, to act in the now, following his own intuition.
You're listening to the Future Stops podcast, an initiative of the Royal Canadian College of Organists. My name is Blake Hargreaves, and I'm your host as we explore the world of the 21st century organ. We just heard today's feature, an excerpt from Hermann Nitsch's 2019 solo organ recital at the Angelical Festival, recorded in Bologna's Basilica di Santa Maria di Servi. Normally on Future Stops, we like to speak to the artist directly, which wasn't possible in this case, but we do have a statement from Herr Nitsch himself on the relationship to the organ. I'm not an organ virtuoso, but the organ is the right instrument for me to perform the music of the Orgy's Mysteries Theatre. My music makes use of drawn-out tones, uses sound blocks, cluster arrangements, roaring tutti structures, tonal and dissonant, up to overlapping noise. Everything that strings, woodwinds, brass, and synthesizers do in my orchestra can be implemented through the organ. I can equally create shrill sounds and meditative tone arrangements. I can also indulge in keys and wedge myself into dissonance. The force of the birth of galaxies makes one think of the sounds of the spheres that permeate all of this. The singing noises and the music that cause the orbits of the heavenly bodies also reach us. The ringing, resounding, and whizzing of the harmony of the spheres of the universe becomes audible. Kepler's firmament, permeated by radiant music, is noticed. Fire, light as the cause of everything, is represented by the starry sky. Innumerable solar systems with their planets let the whole of creation resound in the exultant, roaring, calmly sustained chorus.
His complete thinking, all his ideas, I think, have no principal liturgical relations. But in the third, fourth, fifth sense, we have interesting Verbindungen, connections, and basics. You know that Hermann Nitsch think about the whole world in go back to the antique the Greek time and all mysteries of all Kulturen of all cultures and comprehensive to the whole universe. Of course, and he's also fascinated and interested in the Catholic ritus, in the Catholic ritual, and I think in all Catholic ritual things, and therefore we have a lot of Verbindungen, connections.
If you listen to such music, or if you also play, as I did, I assisted Nitsch. Of course, you are plunged in another state of mind. You are totally immersed in these sound processes, and you forget time, the common time, the time of daily life, and you are in another temporal dimension. And above all, in the music of Nitsch, you experience this vastitude of space, because Nitsch, actually, with the sounds, is creating surfaces and frames and colored surfaces and spaces. And with his sounds, he evokes the vastitude of cosmic spaces and of cosmic processes, of this ever-changing movement of all things, that is also very gradual, a very slow movement.
The pipe organ is a musical instrument which can take a team of more than 50 people years to build, containing over 10,000 individual pipes, crafted, voiced, and tuned to speak in resonant harmony with each other and with the building in which they're contained. What kind of music should or could be made with such an instrument? As our guest described today, the music of Hermann Nitsch is inspired by all mysteries of all cultures, is comprehensive to the whole universe, music through which we're forgetting time and transported to another temporal dimension, invoking the vastitude of cosmic space and cosmic processes. It seems inevitable that an artist like Hermann Nitsch, concerned with these ideas, would come to the organ, and that the organ's thousands of pipes would satisfy the intention to invoke an intimate experience of such infinite ideas in a physical live performance. Hermann Nitsch's art, as it pertains to the Church, raises questions about the fine line between respect and taboo, which will no doubt be debated for generations. But perhaps in the blind abstraction of his music, we find the answer that has been there all along. We'd like to thank Leopoldo Siano and Ludwig Lusser for joining us today. The solo recording we used for our feature was published by Dici di Angelica, and the recording of Requiem für meine Frau Beata by Alga Margan, and we thank them, along with Hermann Nitsch, for assisting us with this program. We'd love it if you would assist us, too, in the production of a vibrant conversation on social media at Future Stops and Future Stops Podcast, where you can bring your voice to the questions raised by the art of Hermann Nitsch. Future Stops is a podcast from the Royal Canadian College of Organists, produced by Andrew O'Connor, with Sanjay Parker as community manager and executive producer Elizabeth Shannon. I'm your host, Blake Hargreaves.